Pastor Winford Angion, and welcome to another edition of the Faith Report. Now, this particular episode is pre-recorded, and so we have guests with us here today. We will give the date shortly, and we will get into our program. We're very excited about the program that we have today. We're going to bring some people in to talk to us about personal finance. And this is a topic that I'm sure all of us can relate to, all of us can learn something from. So today is Friday, July the 25th, and let's get started. On last week, we talked about personal finance, and I introduced the topic. But because it is such a broad topic, because its impact is so broad, I felt like we need another week. So we've decided to talk about it today also. And I also want to bring some people in with a little bit more expertise in the subject matter than I have. And so we're going to bring them in just a moment. But on last week, I want to review quickly a few things that we talked about with personal finance. And I'm going to give a couple of scripture references. We talked about Matthew, and we talked about being good stewards of our finances. In other words, being good managers. The gospel according to Matthew, we are encouraged to be good managers of the resources that God has loaned to us. And so that's the first thing, is learning to manage our finances properly. I got a couple other scriptures that I'm going to talk about, and then we'll be ready to talk to our guests. Luke 14:28 says, "For which of you intending to build a tower sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he has sufficient enough to finish it?" So this interpretation has to do with planning and strategies. So we should always plan, especially when we take on big financial endeavors. We should always plan for it. And as well, plan and prepare. Let's see here. The next one, and we have a couple more, is Proverbs 13:16. It says, "Every prudent man dealeth with knowledge." And so that's the only part of that scripture we're going to deal with. We won't deal with the second half. But basically, this is talking about the application of wisdom and knowledge. We must make wise choices when it comes to our finances, and we must also acquire the knowledge that we need to properly govern our finances. And so that requires a commitment by us to do what we need to do to acquire the knowledge in order to help us better manage our finances. And the final scripture that we have, let's find it here. Proverbs 21:5. "The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness." And so this translation for this scripture has to do with discipline. Discipline. The translation is discipline. So we should always exercise discipline when it comes to personal financial management. All right, I've talked enough. I'm going to bring in my guest now. But right before I do that, it is time for the joke of the day.
I'm excited.
All right, so here we go. Let's see here. All right, a guy sees a talking parrot for sale at an auction and decides to place a bid. The more he's outbid, the more impressed the guy becomes. So he keeps bidding higher and higher until he wins. Afterward, he approaches the auctioneer and says, "I sank a lot of money into this bird. You're sure he can really talk, right?" The auctioneer said, "Sure. Who do you think kept outbidding you?"
Yep, that's what I thought.
What do you
Bird
think?
said, "I'm worth more than that."
He's driving up higher.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a
okay.
parent who knows his self-worth, you know.
Yep.
All right. So now we're ready to bring in our guests. They both one of them works for the corporate extension office, Fulton County
UGA Cooperative Extension in Fulton County.
Cooperative Extension in Fulton County. Cecilia Tran, and the other one, Naomi Hill, is an intern. And so at this time, I'm going to let them come to you and tell you what they do.
Okay. I'll try my best. It always trips me up. But my name is Cecilia Tran. I am a Family and Consumer Sciences agent with UGA Extension in Fulton County. And you're asking yourself, what is a Family and Consumer Sciences agent? Just think modern day home ec teacher, but I'm out in the community and not stuck in a classroom.
Okay.
My name is Naomi Hill, and I am a recent master's student graduate from UGA. My master's is in behavioral financial planning, and I've been working this summer with Cecilia out in the community and just teaching and doing that work hands-on.
So I'm a dietitian by trade. I worked at Grady Hospital for 3.5 years in the outpatient clinics, and then decided I need to really be out there in the community and really expand my reach of who I can help. So my specialty is nutrition education, but as a FACS agent, I also do financial literacy, green cleaning, canning classes. I mean, pretty much anything inside the home, I'm responsible for teaching. So
Awesome.
jack of all trades.
Yeah. So do you teach cooking too?
I do.
Okay.
And that's kind of my bread and butter. So we do kids cooking classes. I do college kid cooking classes. I'll do cooking demos at senior centers, pretty much anywhere, wherever. I've got a little mobile kitchen. So if you need me to come out and teach you a thing or two, I can definitely do that.
That's pretty outstanding. All right. In terms of what you do with this program, financial literacy courses, tell us a little bit about this program.
Yeah, so financial literacy is another offering of ours, and in the same way of I will travel to you. So I don't usually have scheduled classes where you would come to my office and I would teach to you. Instead, I have a lot of inviting agencies who will find out about me and say, hey, I think that my community would really benefit from learning about basic budgeting or credit or savings. Could you come out and teach a class? Definitely. I can do virtual or in person. So next week we will be at an outpatient clinic teaching. We'll also be at accountability court teaching, but we are all over the place. We've done construction companies as well. But if you feel like your constituents would benefit from some basic financial planning and education, can definitely come to you. Again, we've also had, like with the Board of Health, we've done virtual workshops. So during your lunch hour, I can come on and teach a class. So, with this Atlanta traffic, it can be kind of hard for people to get someplace. So I try to make it as accommodating for whoever wants the education.
Okay, outstanding. And this is, for the most part, is it free?
Yes, 100%. So other classes we might charge for, but that is just to recoup the material costs. So if I buy things like for a canning class, then I'll have you, reimburse me for the jars and the pickles and stuff like that. But for financial literacy, usually there's no cost involved. And so, yeah, completely free, because that's the other thing with financial literacy and anything else is, why do I have to pay to learn something that I need in order to live, survive, and stuff like that? Those should be basic offerings, and I think our education system does a poor job of teaching those really important skills. So if you were supposed to get it in school and that was free, then we should be giving you that for free as well.
No, I think about that, and I never had a course like that in high school or anything like that coming up. Not financial literacy. Were they supposed to be teaching that in 4-H and stuff like that?
Well, they do. We have a lot of kids courses that teach about money management and stuff. I mean, if kids are collecting an allowance, and they just want to blow it on bubble gum, well, those are little learning lessons. And what parents often do is they don't want to talk about finances with their kids, or whoever knows why. When we do a survey of most people, where do you get your financial education from? you've never really had a talk with your parents about it, right? You just kind of see how they spend money or how they talk about money, and you internalize that, and then you take bits and pieces from everybody else, and everybody just forms their own version of financial literacy without ever having a conversation about it, right? Because when we talk about money, sometimes it's seen as like tacky or distasteful or rude, but it's a conversation that we need to start having more and more.
Okay. Generally, how do you know where to start? You know, when you're going to teach this course, because how do you gauge where people are in terms of being able to receive the material, being able to comprehend the material?
Yeah, it's a little bit tough. One, the inviting agency, you can ask them questions of what works best, because they should know their community, right? So asking them what specifically might they need a little bit more help with. And then honestly, we don't know everything. So having a conversation. So we did a financial literacy class with a group of trans women, and they were absolutely wonderful, but they face a lot of different expenses that we would never even think of, like the extra medications and stuff like that. And so if I don't know something about you, I need to have a conversation instead of just trying to like preach to you or teach to you, right? And assuming that I know XYZ, I don't. And so taking the time to have a conversation with somebody before you launch into teaching, and then saying, okay, well, I know enough, right? I know the foundation of this. So let me take what you're saying to me and adapt that into my curriculum, and then teach to you to make it more engaging.
Right. Okay, so I do have some questions here. If you're ready for them,
I think so. I'm gonna ding.
All right. So, number one, generally speaking, what is the number one choice people make that adversely impacts their personal finances?
So I think the first thing is reactive and impulsive financial decisions. So when something happens, then reacting to it rather than being proactive and planning for it to happen. So this is like, impulse is a good one, because it's like you're out, you feel in the moment, you're like, oh, I want this, so you just do it, versus being intentional and being like, I know that I tend to get this way during this time of the day. Let me plan for it, whether that means I'm packing something extra so I can have it for then, or whether it means I'm going to allot money for it and do it for then. This could also be emergencies, like emergency savings, not being proactive and saying, this could potentially happen, let me plan for it now. That's one way. The other thing I think is thinking that you have to reach a certain point in order to make financial decisions and make financial investments, thinking, I don't have enough money, I need to get this much and then I'll start doing. No. If you have any amount of money at all, $5, $10 coming in, you have the agency to say, this is what I have, how do I use it? And I really liked that you read those different Bible verses, because I liked those, the proactivity, the discipline, the stewardship, wisdom, education, using all of those things to say, I have this, how can I put it to use? How can I make my money work for me?
Right.
Then you need those who can come in and say, teach you how to kind of make your money work for you. Because then you say, I know I have this and I want to be proactive, but how do I do that? And that's where I think we come in with that.
100%. I think what we most, like one of the worst things that you can say to yourself is, I'm bad with money. Well, yeah, because you haven't had the education, no one's really talked to you about it. So we all feel that way. And because we feel like we're bad at money, we're scared, right? Is if I look at my finances, if I write everything down and really take a good look at it, you're scared of what that might say about you, right? And so you don't want to feel that way. You don't want to feel bad about yourself or anything. So you have like these numbers in your head of like, I think I spent X amount of money on this. And I'll give a prime example. I am daughter of an immigrant. We grew up relatively poor, so I pinched pennies and stuff like that. But if you ever take me out to eat, or I take you out to eat, you would think I was a millionaire. I am ballin', okay? The sky is the limit. And one day I was like, let me just look at how much I actually spent. I was spending like between $600 and $900 of my monthly take-home pay on eating out, okay? And I'll be honest, I ain't got it like that. Not to put me into debt, but for it to be at least 30% of what I was taking home was going out, I am supporting small businesses, yes, but I also need to support this small business and, and save and stuff. So taking a hard look at it. And so, we think like, oh, if I spend just $20 here or $20 here, $20 here, it doesn't matter. But all of that adds up really, really quickly. And we just want to put the blinders on instead of just saying like, hey, it's okay. We all have to start somewhere, and it's going to be a little bit hard at first. But it's going to get much easier, and it doesn't have to be so restrictive. Like with budgeting, everybody thinks that a budget is there to tell you no, but a budget is actually there to tell you yes. Yes, you can do this. Yes, you can go on vacation. Yes, you can afford an emergency fund or whatever your dream is. You have the money for that. You're just spending it on all this other stuff that's really frivolous. But if you were to redirect that and really take a hard look at it and say, if this is something really important to me, like I want to take my mom to Thailand, first class, right? That is an expensive thing. And right now I'm telling myself, no, I can't. But I'm spending, $200 at a dinner. Ma'am, you could fly 500 miles and get your mom a little bit closer there if you felt like it. Right. But it's taking the time to say, okay, for a little bit, I'm going to go without this so that I can achieve this.
Right. I like both the points, the impulsiveness, because I'm guilty of that. For example, lunch at work. If I do not go to the grocery store and purchase my lunch for the week, I'm going to spend a lot of money that week because lunchtime, I'm just going to go and buy stuff, and usually I'm going to overspend. But if I purchase it ahead of time, basically do a little planning, then I'm basically going to take my lunch, fix it and take it, and that's what I'm going to eat. So I can relate to that. And the other thing about not really wanting to see where you are, I can relate to that too. Just like it's not going to look good. I'm just going to procrastinate, put it off because it's not going to look good. But so those are both good points.
We have a therapeutic term for that. Actually, it's called money avoidance. Like not wanting to know. I don't want to know because it's kind of scary.
Right.
That's called money avoidance.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I've had that before.
Yeah.
I think we all do. Yeah. 100%. Unless you really got it like that, and even then, I think there's another misconception where if you have a lot of money, then you're good with money. Yeah. That is so not true. You've seen plenty of celebrities, athletes, and everybody go bankrupt or whatever because they spend because they think that they have this amount of money in the bank. And so that's the other part of it is, people think, oh, once I get to $1 million, then I'll be set. Then once I win the lottery, I'm going to be good. But most lottery winners go bankrupt within a few years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To whom much is given, much is required. So like more money doesn't mean less stress. It means you got to be wiser about managing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 2. Describe the course of action you would prescribe for people whose personal finances are in disarray.
Okay, so I actually have like 4 steps in my mind for this, and this is how I like to approach it. First and foremost, money is a holistic thing. It affects every aspect of your life. So the first thing you have to do is evaluate your values. What do you value? What is important to you? Maybe write that down. Maybe write down the first 5. Maybe write down actually the first 15 and then narrow it down to 10 and then 5. And what are those top things that are most important to you? Some is I want to take my family on vacation once a year. Some is I want to feel comfortable that I'll be able to retire. Some is I want to be able to have self-care days every so often, whatever it is. But write down those values to you. And then after that, once you have those set out, then you can go to step 2, which is determining what are you willing to do to support those values. And then when you're able to define what is most valuable to you and what you're willing to do, that's going to be, you will be more likely to act on that. After that, once you would meet with like a financial planner or even on your own, you need to determine what is your financial status. So like Cecilia was talking about wanting to do something, but then spending money in all these other areas. Well, you've got to sit down and say, okay, I want to do this. What am I spending right now? What's going where? And that's where the budgeting kind of comes in. You got to say, okay, this much is going here, this much is going here. Okay, what do I need to do to kind of reorganize things? Put this here, put that there, maybe cut down here, maybe increase here. To kind of figure out how you're going to make that work. The 4th step is accountability. Whether this is someone else keeping you accountable or you putting things in place to keep yourself accountable. This might look like automation, where you can have your bank accounts automatically set to, or like your direct deposit bank accounts, automatically set to put certain percentages of assets wherever you want them to be. That's one way to keep yourself accountable. Another way is what we call mental accounting in behavioral finance. And that's kind of associating something with the money to kind of prevent yourself from using. So think of like education planning. If a parent puts money in a 529 plan, which is a education savings tool that can only be used for education, they're more than likely not going to take that out for two reasons. One, they'll be penalized, and two, they want their kids to go to school. So when they associate that money automatically, it's automatically being taken out of their paycheck and going straight into it. That's called mental accounting. They're like, I want my kid to be able to do that. They're going to that college. I want them to be a legacy student, whatever it is.
That's good.
It's stuck with that. So that's a way of using behavioral finance, mental accounting, to say that's set there and it's not going anywhere else. So those are kind of my 4 steps. Do you have more to add to that?
Yeah, I would say it's really scary. It is super, super scary, but you've got to start somewhere. And so I think the first thing is start tracking your spending. Even if it's for a week, just writing down every little dollar here or there so you can see where your money is going, and you'll find little leaks pretty much of I'm spending a lot of money on this. Why exactly? And when we go to the impulsive stuff, you're in your feelings, you had a hard day, so you're like, you know what, I'm going to treat myself. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But how much of that treating yourself and how long lasting or how sustainable is that joy that you got from it, right? If it was just a little trinket in the moment, okay, well, you could have saved that money for something that's a little bit more meaningful. So if your tire goes flat, you're not going to be scrambling, running around looking for your money to replace that. It's going to be less stressful for you. Looking at it that way. With financial literacy, it's all about vocabulary. Anything that's foreign to you is just because you don't know the vocabulary. So taking the time, there's so many resources. There's podcasts, there's YouTube videos. I mean, there's TikToks, which we should all be a little bit weary of. It's making sure that they're from evidence-based sources. But there's so much possibility to learn now with the internet, right? Is taking the time. If you're stuck in traffic, put on a financial podcast and just start to listen and learn a little bit, and just get familiar with it. But I think the first thing is just be honest with yourself. We all are bad with finances right now, right? But once you take the active steps to learn it, you can get really good at it. It's not out of your wheelhouse just because of the way you grew up or the way that you used to manage your money. Even if you were financially irresponsible before, that doesn't mean that you don't have the wherewithal to turn that around, right? And so, taking the time, writing it down, and taking a hard look of, if I want these things to change in my life, what is it, again, that I'm willing to do? And if I'm just not willing to do anything, well then, okay, just put your blinders on and keep it moving and be really, really bad with money. But you have that power, and really, it's not that much more to take the next step. It's a little bit intimidating, but it is completely there for you. And again, so many resources, financial planning, and a lot of it can be free as well. You don't have to pay for all of this, so it is within your realm.
Okay.
It's really about intentionality, being intentional. For the past 2 years, I've worked with hundreds, probably over 600 students at UGA, and I'm a TA for the personal finance class. So one of the assignments we give them, or actually a couple of them, is over the semester they create a budget and they have to continue writing about it, about their emotions and what they felt and why they spent what they spent. They have to track everything. And so by the end of the semester, they get to look back and kind of talk about what that process was like going through. But the point that I want to make here is that it's not about them feeling guilty or good about anything that they did. It's more about being intentional about what you did. You saw the first thing you did. You gave us in your second paper, you said, I want to do this next month. Next month, you reflect and say, how did I do last month on what I said I was going to do? It's about being intentional, not about, oh, I did that. No, it's just, well, I want my money to go here. How am I making that happen? So it's not about feeling any type of shame over it. It's more about, how do I get where I'm trying to go? And how, if I'm going to make exceptions, how do I do that with intention?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very good.
Okay, question number 3. What tools and strategies do you recommend to assist people in organizing their finances? And maybe you've already covered some of that.
She's got a lot of really great resources. There's also a lot of budgeting apps that are out there as well if you want somewhere to start. You can do pen and paper, but everybody does everything on their phones now, so there's plenty of those. There's like templates online that you can get, but beyond that, Naomi shared some of these fantastic resources.
Templates. I like that. Students use Excel, Google Sheets, just track. First of all, invest in your financial education. Be curious. That's the first thing. For students, we talked briefly about TikTok a second ago. The thing I really like about TikTok is that even though it may not be, like, you got to go further than TikTok. The thing is, TikTok gets it in your mind. When you see somebody talking about investing or whatever it is, saving money, your high yield savings account, you think, what is that? Don't let that stop there. Go further. Be curious. Type Google, what is a high yield savings account? What is an investment account? What is a money market account? Just look into it. Be curious. That's the first step. I'm a huge advocate for free financial education. I'm always going to advertise for that. There's this online schooling called Coursera. There are so many free programs and courses on there.
I'd heard of them, but I didn't know that they offer free courses. I didn't realize it.
They do, and they have actually several free personal finance courses that you can choose from. That's the first step, and they teach budgeting. I think there may be some that focus more on credit, but look for those free resources.
All right, hear that, everybody? Free.
Yes.
Free. There's a lot of free stuff out there.
Yeah. I'm actually going to plug UGA for a moment and talk about the UGA Love and Money Center. So I worked with them as a student, and basically financial planning students get to work. It's called Practicum. We work with clients, and anybody, anywhere. It could be in Georgia. It could be all over the U.S. It could be students, whoever. We give behaviorally informed financial coaching. So any issues you have, we cannot give investment advice or legal advice. But any like budgeting you want to do, learn about credit, whatever it is, you bring that to us, and we work with you during the semester to help you achieve those goals. And that is offered in the spring and fall semesters.
And what is that called again?
That is called the UGA Love and Money Center.
Okay.
And they service everyone all over the U.S. So that is a huge asset that people can take advantage of. The other thing is not free, but it is also very important. It's called National Association of Personal Financial Advisors. And these are financial advisors who are fee only. This means that they do not make any sales or commissions on the work they do. Their clients pay them directly based on a fee and based on, that's between the client and the advisor. But they are fiduciaries, which means that they must act in the best interest of the client. They are also held to the highest competency. I can't say this word right now.
It's okay.
Competency, and do ongoing education to make sure that they're staying on top of everything. And so these advisors are online. They're called NAPFA, or National Association of Personal Financial Advisors. And so you can find these online if you would like more in-depth financial planning. So those are the 3 top ways that you can kind of organize your finances with or without somebody kind of helping you move along that process.
Yeah.
That's good.
And then a lot of companies also offer things like EAP, which, oh my gosh, I can't remember what that acronym stands for, but they have free counseling for a variety of topics. So it could be mental health, it could be finances, it could be legal advice, stuff like that, but 4 sessions for free based on any type of topic. So if with finances, like you said, it's so broad. So you could have a session, 4 sessions with somebody just on budgeting. And then you could do one on credit, and then you can do one on savings. And then your 401k and a whole bunch of other things, how to use your HSA and your health savings account in the best way possible. I mean, there's just a gamut of topics that you can, again, for free through your employer that you should take advantage of, because if they're not paying you enough, you better take advantage of those little benefits, right?
That's true.
That's actually
employee assistance program.
Employee assistance program. That is a really great point that you made. And I won't get into it too deep, but just like knowing what options you have through your company, like knowing about your retirement. Is it an opt-in, like it automatically opts you into retirement? Do you have a high yield savings account with them? Do you have life insurance, group life insurance, health insurance through your company? So that that program is really important, like knowing what your company offers and then being able to take advantage of those. That's another way to kind of be informed about managing your finances.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions, because I think some people, they're just like, because it is a little bit too intimidating to them, or they don't have any idea, they're just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna let the man figure it out and I'm just gonna sit back here. If you need to know more about a 401k match and not leaving money on the table, please ask some questions. Like, that is your bag. Don't let people mess with it. Like, empower yourself to like take advantage of that.
Absolutely. Okay, outstanding. Okay, number 4, how many credit cards? This is about credit cards. How many credit cards should a person possess? Should they possess any? I've heard different opinions on this. Some people say credit is good depending on how you use it. Some people say you should just clip them all up.
Well, it really just depends on you as a person. I think that credit cards can be a really, really great tool, especially if you're trying to build your credit and your credit score. And if you have a really good credit score, that means you can get better loans, you can get better phone plans, you can get better insurance, a lot of that stuff, and it really matters. And then on the opposite side, if you're financially irresponsible, people use credit cards like free money. They say, well, when I die, who's gonna come get me? I'm just racking up this money. Let's not do that, and so it really just depends. But I think it can be a really, really great tool, especially like for stuff like travel. There's a lot of travel credit cards, and so you can earn points to help you travel for free, so you can go to Europe on money that you haven't spent, well, you've spent it, you earn the points, and you use that. But there can be a lot of perks like cash back and things of that nature, but it has to be handled really well.
I want to make a point that it's really important to know there's a difference between credit and credit cards. Credit cards is a way to build credit or ruin it if you don't use it properly. But credit can be built in other ways. Is it going to be as effective? Probably not. It will be very hard to get your first car, your first house. It'll be difficult, but it's important to know that credit is something. Credit cards are kind of separate from credit. Credit is like what is built. The other ways that you can build credit is your student loans. If you have student loans and you pay those off and you're consistent with them, that's building your credit. If you have a car loan, which you may need to have good credit already to do that, but if you have a car loan and you're consistent with it, that's going to help you build your credit score. If you're consistent with your bills, your utilities, that's going to also show and reflect on your credit score, credit report, your credits. It's gonna reflect on your credit report. So these are just being, again, stewardship, discipline, being consistent with your payments on those things is going to help reflect on your credit report. And then credit cards is more of a way to build credit. They're neither good nor bad. It's how you use them.
So tell me this: how would you advise me if I had a college freshman going off to college, and I'm kind of concerned. I want them to be okay. I don't want them to be in a situation, where they need and can't get. And so I just slap down that credit card there and tell them it's your first credit card. Be responsible. Is that wise?
If that's all you say, then that's probably not wise.
There needs to be some repercussions.
There were some discussions before that leading up to it explaining how a credit card works and rates and all of that, then maybe. But honestly, I would say...
And we want your honest opinion, because I just threw that scenario out there.
I personally wouldn't. There's a thing called an authorized user where you can add them to your credit to build their credit score, but you're talking about actually allowing them to have access to money. That really depends on the individual. Do you trust your child? Have you also given them the financial education so that they know how a credit card works and they know that you can't just spend aimlessly? You have actually a limit on this, and then you got to repay that. It's not how are they helping to repay it? Are they sending you money? It really just depends on what expectations you set for them before.
I know some people that have done that. They gave kids credit cards when they went off to college, and they just I mean, we had a keg party and stuff. Not just kidding.
God.
I'm just kidding.
I
They
will
funded
say-
the keg party all the time.
When I was in high school, my mom was trying to build my credit for me and then also my siblings and stuff. So when I got a car, she was like, here's a credit card. You will use this to pay for gas. Gas only. Okay. But I was one of those where if like the needle went down past the F, I was filling it back up. And we drove an expedition. And even back then when gas was like $1.31, it was still pretty expensive. So she get her credit card bill at the end of the month. She was like, how are you spending this much on gas? Like I was going to town, okay? And she said, okay, there's a limit. You can only spend $200. Okay, well now when I know my limit, and she said, you know, if you go over this, then you're gonna have to pay for it. I don't want to pay for it now. So then I got real, you know, quick on it. But then I was also working and I had my own job, so I knew that that was just like that was basically my allowance, right? But it was a very hard conversation because at first she said, "This is just for gas." Okay. Free for all. And then when she gave me the limit, okay, well now I know exactly where my boundaries are, and I know that if I go over this, then I'm responsible for it. So then I became a lot more responsible because of that, right? But it is definitely a larger conversation and letting them know, like, these are this is not just free money. Like, I'm not just gonna bankroll you. You can do whatever. Now, if you do want to have a keg party, go for it, but you're paying for that and all of the consequences that go with it, so you better just watch yourself, you know? And if you're going to be irresponsible, well, then I'm just going to take it away. So now what are you going to do, you know? So
I think that's really important about just like setting those expectations and about them knowing how it works. So my background was a little different. My parents were hardcore. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this, but they were hardcore Dave Ramsey fans growing up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I am not advocating one way or another, but I will say that growing up where they were like snipping those credit cards, no credit, that started because there was a bad credit situation where it got out of hand. So they were like, none. However, when their kids grew up and were ready to go to college and get cars and get their apartments, there was no credit score to be found, which made it very, very difficult for us to get the things that we needed. So it's a balance of using them. It's just like money. Which is a horrible thing to say, honestly, because it's loaned money. But, like, you have to use it responsibly. If you just remove it, then it's going to be really difficult for you to get ahead in life, especially with things becoming more and more, like, virtual and automated and online and stuff. It's going to be difficult. So it's about how you use it, not just, you know, it's not an extreme. It's a balance.
So, you know, if they want to give their kid, that's a great opportunity to teach them about credit and how
Yes,
it works.
that.
You know,
Yes.
you got to do the teaching part, you know. So you got to teach them about discipline and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
It's a great
Yeah.
opportunity.
And then also the bigger repercussions of it. If you are spending out of control and you go into debt and then you're not able to pay that off, your credit score is going to get affected. And then because of that, all the other things that you might want in life here, it's going to be much harder to get. The apartment that you want to get into, they're going to check that too. And it's all encompassing. And then having to pay that, again, it's not free money, that people just like to think like, oh, I'm just going to take out a loan and then spend it on Louis Vuitton purses so I can like look like I have money. What? You ain't got it. And then when you're struggling to pay rent, you're not going to get retail for that purse. What are you going to do now? Live in it?
Gotta sell the purse. Have the apartment. You gotta.
Facebook Marketplace, here I come.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, do you find that people, I guess, of a certain class, are they better at managing finances? Do they know more about it, or how does that work?
No. I don't think they do. What do you?
Well, it depends.
I'll say why too.
Yeah, it depends. People in a higher tax bracket, they have more conversations with their kids about money because they're more comfortable with it, right? And they also want to know, well, I worked really hard for all this money. You better not blow it. So, you know, they'll talk to their teens about investing and stuff like that and start them off young, right? Just the same way with cooking. It's like if you start in the kitchen with your grandmother, then you're more likely to do it throughout life and you're more likely to be really good at it, right? But if you don't tell them or have any type of conversations with them when they're younger or when they're grown, well then what are they supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, the reason I say no is more from like a behavioral standpoint where there tends to be like some bias or assumption that people that are in higher tax brackets just like know how to spend money better. They don't. They
don't.
have advisors. They have access. It's about access. They have access to financial advisors who are saying this would be most optimal. They're optimal. They're also kind of working in more circles where they're kind of sharing information among themselves. And so they kind of have like an inside scoop almost. But I don't think that they know more necessarily. They just know what's important to know. So I don't think so. I think someone can have just as much money and there's still going to be behavioral aspects that if you have a lot of money but you have a gambling problem, to be very extreme, is that money going to be around for a long time? No, you're going to end up working in a casino, doing concerts or something.
I thought the exact same reference.
To pay something off, because even though you have the money, you're not acting responsibly with it. So no, everybody's I don't know what the word is, but like everybody's susceptible to
money problems.
Yeah.
Right. And when we think about people who are in lower tax brackets, you could actually say that sometimes they're better at it because they know how to manage their money to make a dollar stretch to be able to get XYZ and do that. And if you were to flip somebody who used to be a billionaire and now they have $0 in their pocket, what are they going to do? They're not as resourceful. They're not as creative with it. They're just used to having this like spring of money that they can, exactly. And so it just depends. Like we said earlier, just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean that you're actually responsible with it, right? It just means that you got lucky in some type of way, you got help somewhere or something. Not to say that you're not successful in some type of way, but again, once you become a lottery winner doesn't mean that automatically, boom, I know exactly what to do with this. No, you do not.
Yeah. And that actually makes me think of something else, why financial socialization is so important. Because you're talking about, like, we could talk about someone who grew up with nothing, worked into it, and earned their money. They're going to understand more about, like, the value of money and the importance of hard work. And they may actually have taught themselves how to manage money. However, if they don't socialize their children and teach their children, educate them to understand, there's a chance, and I know there's many people who will be like, I don't want my kids to suffer, but I also don't want them to just be crazy. You know, you have to, like, financial socialization is where you expose your children, or you're exposed to emotional behaviors around money, but you're also exposed to how to manage money. So that financial education. So that's where that kind of comes in, of the parent may have actually done well for themselves and have that thrift, but if you don't educate your children and help them to know, hey, this is how it was, this is how you have to operate in order to make wise financial decisions, then that piece that's missing it kind of just, I can't think of the word, but like it makes everything that you've done up to that point obsolete, because it's not being continued. So
and I think with the rise of social media and clout and trying to look a certain type of way, it's all like fancy clothes, fancy cars, big houses, but people are house poor. They like barely have a bed to sleep in, but you're sleeping in a mansion. Okay, well, like, what does that mean? Or you're driving around a Mercedes Benz, but it's leased, like you don't even own it, and then you're just like nickel and diming here so that you can look a certain type of way, and it's live within your means. Like when we look at Warren Buffett, who's like one of the richest men ever, he's still in the same house that he drives a used car, like he has a lot of money because he's not spending a lot of money, but he's not super frugal. He can still enjoy the finer things in life, but he doesn't feel like he has to have, like, again, a mansion, 20 cars, and all this other stuff to flex. Like, if you really have it like that, that's like quiet luxury. Then you don't need to be branded with Gucci to say, like, I have money. You should just be secure and confident enough. I think a lot of people, when they're like really that braggy and showy about it, those are the people where you're like, they don't have it. You know?
I agree. So what do we decide? Credit cards, is not the best way to build credit, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think it's one of the easiest ways to build credit if you use it responsibly, and it's one of the easiest ways to tank your credit if you use it irresponsibly.
Okay.
I think that sums it up real well.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's see here. The next question that we have. What tools and strategies do you recommend to help facilitate saving?
I will say pay yourself first. So what Naomi was saying before is automation. Rely on that. If you're if your employer allows for direct deposit, right, and you can direct deposit in multiple accounts, set that up first. So for me, I know specifically, and know yourself. So like you were saying, if you know that you're not going to pack lunch, then you're going to eat out and you're going to splurge. Well, when you build your budget, is know that I'm going to have a splurge lunch line where I know that for X amount of days of the week, I'm going to eat out and plan for that, right? I know if I have a lot of money in my bank account, I'm going to spend it, okay? So I try to put as little money in my checking account as I possibly can. I know I can cover my bills and I can have a little bit of fun money, but the rest of it is going to go to savings and I don't touch it. So before my check hits my checking account, it's going to this savings account because it's got this percent of interest rate. It's going to go to this bank account because I'm saving for this. It's going to go into my stocks. I've got stuff going into my 401k. All of that touched first. To pay myself first so that I can make sure when I'm 60 years old, I don't have to work anymore. That if, my tire goes flat, I got money for that. If I want to go on vacation, I've got money for that. I don't have to worry about it. And then the rest goes into my bank account and I'm done and I'm set. And then I can spend it on whatever else I need it to do.
Yeah, I agree. I want to talk about high yield savings accounts.
I know you
because
do. You were chomping at the bit and I didn't want to take it away from you. So I
high
have
yield
that.
savings accounts, specifically because this says to facilitate saving.
Yeah.
That's why I'm going to talk about this. So are you familiar with a high yield savings account?
I've heard, but I don't have a lot of details, so enlighten us a little
Okay,
bit.
so a high yield savings account is a savings account that has higher. Dang, I'm forgetting the words now.
Interest rate?
It has a higher interest rates, meaning it pays you more interest than an average saving account. So if you think of just like a regular savings account, just like the regular savings account that you have, like Capital One, I don't know, you will probably get like a really, I don't even know what the percentage is, but it's really small to the point where you will get like maybe 2 cents a month.
Yeah, like
Like
my
it's
old
tiny.
bank was like 0.01%.
You will get cents per year. You might get $1, I don't know. I never got
you're
I got like
lucky.
2 cents my first year at the credit union my mom set up for me.
So, you know what? I think a lot of people really don't realize that. Why are they calling that a savings account? You're not really saving.
It's not, and that is so important to me because when you bank with a bank, the bank is supposed to be paying you interest for you putting your money there. They should be paying you. So a high yield savings account is making that happen. There is a disclaimer on this before I talk more about it. You will get a tax form. And depending on your financial situation, you will have to pay some amount of taxes. So if you're higher tax bracket, you may pay a little bit, but it's not going to be that much. It's not like an investment. So like you won't have like short-term capital gains. But basically, so I think mine right now is at 3.5%. So that's the interest they're paying me. I get about $15 to $20 payment per month from mine. So I get like several $100s a year from my high yield savings account.
That's good.
And so when she's talking about like it's automated and the first like 3/4 of my paycheck, it goes straight to my savings account. It takes 2 days to get money out of that savings account, which means you cannot access it. That's that mental accounting. It's in there. It's in there. So when that money goes straight there, it sits there and it has what's called compound interest. That means that every month it's growing. So if it's $100 and they pay me $15 next month, it's $115. And then they're paying me 3.5% interest on that. I don't know what the math is
On
for
that $115.
Right.
So
it's 115.
you're dipping twice?
It's growing. It's
It's
compounding.
compound.
Yeah.
It's growing. Yes. So I have
Okay.
115 next month, and whatever that 3% is, it's going up. Might be 125 next month, and it's just growing like this. And that's just from sitting in there. If I lose my job, and I can't consistently put money in there, it is still growing every month. So I'm a huge advocate for the high yield savings account. Think about this again, because we were talking about the tax, that disclaimer with the tax. If I am not making income, but my money is in my high yield savings account, it's gonna balance out because my tax bracket is still gonna be low. So if there even is anything for me to pay, it's gonna be very low. So, but that money is still growing. It's
Now I
still
have
growing.
a question. So when I go to the bank, why don't they try and sell me a high yield savings account?
Why do you think?
Yeah.
Why do you
Yeah.
think?
Because they want to use my money
Right. for
and
as
not
less
pay me
as
anything
possible.
for it.
And you know what?
Wow.
They're going to tag
Wow.
all these fees on there, which is why it's so important to shop for your bank.
Yup.
Don't bank at any bank. I was working with a client at the UGA Love and Money Center, and he was telling me, he was like, oh, I don't like savings accounts because it charges me. And I was like, what do you mean? What bank are you banking with? And I don't remember what he said. I think he said, I don't remember what he said, 'cause I don't want to give the wrong bank. But he was like, yeah, they charge me if I don't put money in there every month. And if I don't have, like, I think he said like $300. I was like, switch. Your bank should be paying you to have your money there. So he was like, oh, I didn't know that.
Say
They've
that
been
again
charging
for
me."
our audience.
For
So
the
it's
people
a
in the back.
high yield savings account. Look online for high yield savings account. I'm not going to give advice, but I will say the ones that I use is there's a Capital One. I don't use that one, but there is one. I personally use Ally. I like that it's an online bank. It just makes my money further away from me, to me, in my head. That's that mental accounting again, where I can't go in person to this bank and get money out. It's online in the bank, and it's growing. It's separate from my credit card, my debit card, so I don't have a card for it, which means I cannot go anywhere and swipe with it. And so for me, I think it changes with like inflation. It just changes based on the economy. But when I started, I believe it was 4-point-something% back in a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But it's currently 3.5, so it grows a lot. And that is my soapbox about high yield savings. Everybody should have a high yield savings account. If you want to give your grandkids money, have them open a high yield savings account. Have them put that money in say, I'm transferring some money to your savings account, and let that grow for them. By the time they're 18, how much is that going to grow? If you're giving them birthday money every year, like, just think about that. That is so much. So yeah, that's my little
That's awesome.
my little
That's
nerd out
awesome.
moment on high yield savings accounts.
And-
Yeah.
I'll give a detail on that because we're talking about interest rates. So like what you should be looking for. So
Right.
a normal bank will be like 0.01, 0.03 or something like that. So you're looking for at least 3%. A really great one would be like at least 4.5, 5%. That was a few years ago. Now with the way the economy's going, it's dipping down.
Yeah.
But you want to hit at least 3%. And we say that because the inflation rate is about 3%. Okay, so you want to at least beat it out because they say it all the time, cash is king, right? If you leave your money in a shoebox, okay, underneath your bed,
Depreciating.
it's rotting. Okay, it's losing value because when we think about what you can pay for with the dollar today versus what you could do with it 10 years ago, it's really nothing, right? And so if you're leaving it underneath your bed or wherever in your sock drawer or something like that, it's just losing value. But if you put it in a high yield savings account, at the very least, then at least you're making the same, if not more, than inflation, and so you're earning money from that. And we say start early. So the same thing with the phrase of when should you plant an oak tree? It should have been 20 years ago. When's the next test time? Today, right? So the earlier you can do it, the better because of that compound interest. Compound interest is different than simple interest. Simple interest is, let's say you put $100 in your bank account today. Every month, if they're going to pay you 10%, you'll get $10, okay, each month based on that original $100. Compound interest is different, where you put in $100, you get 10% off that. So the next month it's $110. Well, you're gonna get 10% of that 110. Okay, so now it'll be 121 next month, right? And then 10% of 121. So then you're gonna jump up plus another $12 instead of that regular 10.
Right.
So if you look at a classic example of a woman, she invests $2,000 a year for 10 years. So like between 20 and 30, she invests $2,000. So that's $20,000. And then she stops putting any money into her savings account. And she just lets that money sit. Well, slowly it'll double. And by the time she gets to 60, she's going to be a millionaire without having done anything else. Whereas, let's say you are trying to play catch up. So at 35 years old, you're like, dang it, I need to start saving. You could start saving $2,000 a year for 20-something years. And you wouldn't make as much money as that person who started
Because
when
of
she
that
was
compound
20. Because of
interest.
that compound interest. So when we talk about with your kids' money, put it in a high yield savings account so it can start to grow. So by the time they're 18, their college could maybe be paid for, right? And they don't have to worry about that. And that's just with the money, the interest money that grew, right? That original investment, they could still then use that to do XYZ,
Yeah.
right? So then it's much more attainable. So let your money work for you in that same type of way.
Yeah.
And then when you go beyond your high yield savings accounts, you can do that. Also take advantage of your health savings accounts too. So people,
Yep.
you can get money from your employer and also put money in yourself. I think the max is $4,000, $7,000, something like that a year.
High yield savings?
No, for an HSA, a health savings account.
Yeah.
So you can put that money in there. And what that money normally is for is to pay off any of your medical bills or medical expenses. So if you're paying for prescription pills or anything like that, that money can go towards that. But what it does is it reduces your taxable income. So let's say I make $60,000 a year, but I put $7,000 of my money into my health savings account. Well, now instead of getting taxed that full $60,000, I'm only getting taxed on $53,000,
Right.
which can help me in the long run. Then what you can do is, besides using it for medical expenses, if you're not going to the doctor or anything like that, that doesn't matter. You can invest that money into the stock market, and then you can get yields of about 7%, okay? So then you can make money doing nothing, right, and letting it sit in there. And then when you need to take out that money, you're not going to get penalized tax-wise.
Wow.
So it's a triple
If used
effort.
for medical purposes.
Yes.
If you got to stick with the IRS, what
Yes.
they say. So if
100%.
used within the guidelines of that, but absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
if you have, let's say, okay, I don't have enough money in my health savings account right now, so I just paid off a really fat medical bill. And I didn't have the money in my health savings account to cover it for it, but I will later on in this year. I can pay for it right now and with my credit card or whatever, and then I can reimburse myself later because I paid for that expense, right? So you could theoretically save up all your medical expenses for a few years because there's no expiration date, and then you can pay yourself out later. But you need to keep those receipts, because when the IRS comes
Yep.
to audit, you're not going to say Cecilia Tran told me that I could have spent it on whatever tax-free.
Yeah.
No. That's
Yeah.
for medical stuff. Keep up all your bills, and then you can pay yourself out later if you paid for it. Or you can use that money to pay the hospital or whoever directly.
Yeah, receipts are incredibly important.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit more about the tools and strategies part of the savings now, if we have the time. And I actually would like you to talk about
5
that.
minutes, okay.
Okay, 5 minutes. We'll try to make it quick. So tax filing, because we're kind of talking about
Yes.
just all of these things that we've been talking about is like things that influence your tax liability, which tax liability is how much you have to pay in taxes each year. So can you talk about VITA a little bit, and why one of the strategies that I think is important is filing your taxes? Some people are like, I'm not filing my taxes, I'm gonna claim except whatever. It's actually really important to file your taxes because you can get credits, you can qualify for some deductions, and then
And
so
you can get money, yeah. So credits and deductions, you can get money back, or you're not having to pay as much. And the other part is, especially as you get older, is that identity theft is a very real thing. And somebody can file for you and claim all your money, and then you try to go do that, and they're like, you already filed. So it's really important, even if you're not making anything, to just file anyway, so that they have a record of it and know that your identity is not getting stolen. But VITA is the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. And it is a completely free service where you can get your taxes done for free. So UGA Extension does it. So you don't have to be in Athens. They have VITA agents all over the state. So every county should have an extension office, and most extension offices provide those services. Here in Atlanta, there's also the United Way that offers those VITA assistance programs. And so there are offices all over, so churches or community centers, all different type of places will have those options available, and they'll have dates and times on their website, and they'll have different methods of tax preparation. So you could come in and I could do it right on the spot for you, right? And then you leave. In that case, you don't need an appointment, so it's walk-in only. But if there's a lot of other people there to do their taxes, you might be waiting for hours. So then there's the drop and go option, which at our office in East Point, that's what we do. Is you come in, we talk about your taxes, you provide me with all of your documents, I'm going to take a copy of it, I'll send it up to UGA Extension, where somebody who knows how to do taxes is going to do your taxes for you. And then it's also quality review, because we are humans, we make errors, we have somebody check over it, and then you come back in, we talk about it, make sure you're okay, with what we're saying to you, and then you sign it, and then your taxes are filed. Again, all completely free. Some people don't want to do it because they're scared that they have to pay for it. There was a time where I was paying $120 to file my taxes.
You should not be paying
Right.
to file your taxes in any
Wow.
state.
Right.
This is in
Wow.
every state.
Yeah.
Do you all hear that?
This is
Right.
where I get my taxes filed.
100%.
Yeah.
For free.
Yeah.
For free every single year. So look up VITA Tax Services.
Yeah.
Comes beginning of January, and I mean in Atlanta and the surrounding metro areas, there's plenty of sites where you can go.
Don't wait till the last minute.
Yeah, don't. Because you just never know. Sometimes there's little hiccups and you're like, wait, what? So you don't want to be penalized or anything like that. There's normally at least like a 1 week turnaround for the drop and go because we need a little bit of time and we're trying to help as many people as possible. But look into that. It is a great resource that before I started working for Extension, I had no idea about. And I'm only plugging United Way because they have so many more offices here. I'm only one person. But for anybody else in different counties or anything, take advantage. And again, you don't have to go to Athens or anything like that. You can go to whatever is local to you.
All right, ladies, our time is up, but this has been outstanding, man. I mean, you guys brought a lot of good information. I really enjoyed that, and I learned a lot. Outstanding. Thank you guys for coming on. You
We
guys
get
were
the
prepared.
We try to
Do
be.
you get the hand claps?
Yeah. Where's the applause?
Yay!
All right, we will be in touch. Thank you guys once again for coming
Thank
on.
you.
We really appreciate it, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, thank you for having us. This was such a pleasure.
It really was.
All right, that's it, Jack.